Hey guys, welcome back. If you've been following my series of nose surgery videos here, you know that I started with one that was very invasive, decided against it due to costs, and ended up doing a radiofrequency turbinate reduction procedure instead, which cost me about $550 plus a pre-appointment and a post-appointment, but regardless, way cheaper than the other procedure was going to be. So, as I said in my last video, I last Wednesday went and had this procedure done. So you are seeing me recording this video as I am recovering. Today's video is going to be what it was like, how I went through that process, and what the first few days afterwards were like. So to start, I went in to the doctor's office and sat in one of those, it looks like a horrible old dentist chair. It was so uncomfortable. Anyways, I sat there, he looked up my nose, which is also really, I would say uncomfortable. It's not painful, but it's just weird. So to begin with, he takes a cotton ball and puts a numbing agent on it and shoves it up into each nostril. And I sat there like that for probably 15 minutes as everything was getting numbed up and they were getting the room ready for the procedure I was going to have. During that process, initially it just felt like I had something on my nose, and I was like, well, this is kind of weird. And then slowly it started to kick in. Well, you normally don't really feel much back up in here, right? So I couldn't tell that that was kicking in. What I could tell, though, was my mouth. So, you know, when you go get numbed at a dentist and everything in your mouth goes totally numb, you can't feel anything, it was kind of like a halfway point. Like when you start to feel that numbing agent kick in at the dentist, or you start to feel it coming off. It was kind of like that at the top of my mouth. And right here, right behind my teeth, and I'm sure it's going to look weird on video, but right here, that part, the gums behind, or the top of my mouth behind my front two teeth, was completely numb. But the rest of me wasn't, and I was a little bit numb in the middle of my mouth and the back. It was a very weird feeling, and that's the only reason why I describe it in detail. I've never felt anything like it. So anyways, I sat there doing that for a little while, and then they take me back to this room where they were going to do the procedure. And it was just a chair that they could lean me back, once again, kind of like a dentist's office. And there was standard equipment around me, nothing really special there. So they tell me that they're basically going to numb me up even more with direct injections. And the first thing they did was just so that I didn't really feel the injections. And then they'd have the procedure done. So, you know, it's kind of similar to a dentist's office, once again, where they put a little Q-tip of something where they're going to stick the needle, and then you numb up a little bit, then they stick the needle in. You don't feel it that bad unless you have a really bad dentist, and then I'm not talking about you, but my dentist, that's what he does. And then they numb you up, and, you know, you wait a couple of minutes and you're completely numb. So that's what they did. And it was weird, you know, having them, it's like this long needle thing and they're shoving it up your nose, but you don't feel anything. So it was more uncomfortable is what I would say about the entire procedure. It was just awkward, but nothing that happened was painful, which is great news. Also, nothing that happened really felt like a big deal. So anyways, he sticks the needle up there, gets me fully numb, everything is fine, my nose is feeling really weird, my mouth is feeling really weird because of that, and then he starts up the machine that did the procedure. Basically, from what I could see in front of me, right, all this equipment is behind me, there was a noise off to the side that was kind of like a that's what it sounded like. And I assume that was the radio frequency coming up. It was the portion that I could hear, something like that. And he had this tube, kind of like a thin metallic rod that he would stick in my nose. And he would do it at different angles, poking different things, and then I would hear this noise that I just talked about. And he would go in farther, then he'd pull it out a little farther, and then pull it out a little farther. I can only assume he was changing angles, something like that. So he did it in the first one, and of course it was weird because, I mean, they're shoving back beyond this bone right here. I mean, they're shoving it into your head. That's weird. Very weird feeling. It's not something that you normally have done. But it wasn't painful, just weird, just awkward. And he finished the first one in like a minute. And I was like, is that it? Really? And then he moves on to the other one. Did the same thing. Now, there's one more thing I will add that he told me to do before I went in, and that was spray some Afrin in both nostrils. If any of you have ever used Afrin, It's great. It has amazing properties about it, but it has horrible side effects. So I use Afrin very, very sparingly. And if you've never used it before, basically what's inside it, it's like an acid that your turbinates in the back of your nose, what they do is they swell up whenever you're sick, whenever they're helping you to fight off germs or allergens or something like that. What Afrin does is, if you consider these turbinates to be sponges, it shrinks the sponges. Unfortunately, it irritates the sponges, and if you use it over several days, it will make them bloody and scabbing over. So I hate the side effects of Afrin, but man, if you need it, it is the miracle medicine to open up your sinuses. So anyways, he had me spray Afrin in both nostrils before I went in so that everything could be opened up and he could see. Because it was totally opened up and he could see, he could easily go way back in my nose with this procedure and then work his way forward. So after both sides, a total of no more than like 5 minutes, including the 1 minute per side, the break in between, the numbing up. I mean, it was so quick. And then he says, all right, you're done. I was like, really? That's it? So I asked him, what now? He said, okay, so go home, you can drive yourself home, everything's fine, there's no restrictions. You can work out today, tomorrow, whatever you want to do, no problems. You're gonna get dry and crusty in your nose. You'll want to be spraying saline solution up there regularly in order to keep everything moist so that it can just do what it needs to do. He said, what we've done is effectively, I forget the words he used, but I'm going to summarize and say irradiated the tissue up in your nose. And it's going to dry up, scab up, and then fall out over the next few weeks. So he said this whole process takes about 6 weeks. You start with what we just did, then over the course of the next few weeks, everything in there's going to dry up and you'll start to blow out wads of like grossness, basically wads of scabs. I assume wads of that tissue that he just killed coming out of my nose. And that's it. And then in 6 weeks, we'll see you back and we'll make sure everything's fine. I was like, all right, well, that is way less invasive than I expected, and that was nothing. It was almost like a trip to the dentist's office, maybe less than that. And I will add to that, I don't mind going to the dentist's office. I love going to my dentist. I want my teeth all great, and any problems I have, I want to get fixed right away. So to me, being better than a dentist's office means it was really good. This was not a big deal, and I'd totally do it again if I needed to. So I go home. The rest of the day, the only problem I ran into was the side effects of the numbing agent. Once again, I'll compare it back to the dentist. If you've ever been, when that stuff wears off, you start to feel weird, you get the tingling sensation, it might make you tired. Those are just the anesthesia side effects. That's the only thing I had the rest of the day. Basically, I ended up being a little tired. Woke up the next day and it was like normal. And I thought, there's no way this is all there is to it. Sure enough, things did change, but that day, it felt like a normal day. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can go back to complete normalcy at this point. But then we get into that night and the following day. At that point, it started to feel like I had allergies. The Afrin, of course, wore off. And when that happens, you need more. The side effects of Afrin. So what I normally do when I have to use Afrin is I'll use it in one nostril, not both. That way one nostril's healing while the other one is opened up and I can breathe through it. So I did that for a couple of days, but it was definitely irritating. It was as if I was getting over a cold or going through a really bad allergy season. Both nostrils just really wanted to close up. And of course, the doctor said, don't blow very hard. You can blow your nose, just blow gently, keep it moisturized, use Afrin or Flonase or allergy medicine if you need to. So I continued doing that. And over the weekend, it was, just a minor annoyance. I was going through my process of only using Afrin in one nostril per day. And I decided at some point, I've got to get off of Afrin. So I started using 1 pill of Dayquil let's see, yesterday I did 3 total pills. When I do Dayquil, it's a 2-pill pack and that's supposed to be 1 dose. So I was doing a half a dose and I did it 3 times throughout the day. That opened up my nostrils enough opened up my sinuses and all this stuff up in here enough in order to allow me to not use Afrin last night. So that's a good thing because it means I'm on the mend from the use of Afrin. But Yesterday, I was blowing my nose and I did actually blow out a chunk. And I know this is going to be a little bit gross, but this is like blowing out a big booger is effectively what it seemed like. And it was not clear, just like it had been when I was blowing out the saline spray that I was putting in there. And all of a sudden, when that came out, this nostril got wide open. And I was like, oh, maybe this is part of what the doctor was talking about. I can breathe. This is amazing. Now, I still don't know. It's still too early to tell. The surgery was only 5 days ago, so it may just have been some of the scabbing related to the Afrin use or related to the surgery and the Afrin use and the irritation of my sinuses. It might not have been a portion of my turbinate, but I did experience that in one nostril, the right one here. So far, the left one is still kind of like I have allergies and I'm dealing with that. But I have an appointment about 5 weeks from now to go back in and have him take a good look. I am going to continue with my saline spray. I'm going to continue with Flonase and whatever I need to do in order to manage the symptoms here. But the after effects have really just been the equivalent of bad allergies. It's not that big of a deal. I think the only frustration for me has been the fact that I was forced to use Afrin in both nostrils at the same time for the day of the surgery. I never do that because of the side effects, so I had to deal with that, as well as the frustration of it's like allergies. And of course, the whole reason I went in the first place was because allergies or whatever, maybe just thicker skin, but big turbinates was a part of my problem. So it's kind of like I'm back to square one. But that's supposed to be what it's like. Here over the next few weeks, it should progressively get better. And from what I've been reading online, apparently the 3-week mark is the sweet spot. Apparently when you hit the 3-week mark, you should have blown out whatever crap you had in there that was dead turbinate. And the following 3 weeks should just be your nose fully healing up. So I'm not quite a week in, should have 2 more to go before I really notice the improvement, but I wanted to keep you up to date so you know why I changed surgeries, what the surgery was that I did, what it was like, and what my recovery immediately after was like. Now, I will make a new video in probably 5 weeks from now after I've gone through the full recovery process so that you can understand. But from what I've experienced so far, this seems to be an amazing procedure that did not have massive side effects. I'm not dealing with empty nose syndrome for any of you that are worried about that. It was very minimally invasive. What has yet to be seen is how well the end result will be. But I'll let you know. If it's great, then I would totally recommend this procedure to anybody that needs something like this. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this video, please click on the like button below. Please subscribe and click the bell icon if you'd like to get notified whenever I post more videos. That's all I have for today. Wish me luck on my recovery, and I will see you next time.